Hello. Okay. All right. I'm super excited about this team call. And excited for you guys to meet my husband. So this is Logan. This is my husband. Fun fact about a little about us. We met in the military when I was, how old was I? 18, I think. I'm 31 now. But we probably have done everything in life together. So through ups and downs and figuring out life and I'm just excited. I'm really excited about this because we're going to kind of talk about things that he didn't agree with so much and things that I learned and really helping each other, because you guys have to think at the same time that yes, this is a business, but your significant other or your family, your mom, your sister, whoever it is, like that relationship plays a part into this business and really navigating all of that. So towards the end, I'm going to let you guys ask specific questions for Logan and really get to like pick his brain at things, because I'm going to be completely honest. He was very supportive of me, but when it came to the business, he really wasn't sure at all. And that really came with a previous company that I was with, and I was doing everything that I could to make that business work. And it just wasn't going in the direction. I stuck with it for 3 years. Like I wasn't going to give up on it, but he was still there supporting me. But he knew that I was going to keep doing what I really wanted to do. But at the same time, he knew that, this wasn't going in the direction that I thought it was going in. And I'm going to go over some like things that we've learned, tips that I've come across that we've really worked together. And I'm going to be asking him questions that may be on your mind as well. But I'm going to grab my little notes right here. Okay, so the biggest thing that I learned since switching to Thrive is people are not going to understand, even those loved ones that really love you and they want the best for you. And they may feel, well, that's probably not in your best interest. Like you should be doing this. Like I had to learn not to take those things to heart, because I knew what was here, even though my family didn't understand what it was. And even Logan too, because especially brand new in this business, you're learning all the things, trying to figure it all out and trying to convey that information may get really overwhelming, right? And I knew that I had to do a better job about it. So I started that I was going to keep him in the loop, to bring him along this business with me and not assume that he knew what was going on in this business, because in reality, they have no idea. Your family doesn't understand, your friends don't understand, your spouse doesn't understand, whoever that person is, they don't understand, they don't get it. So the best thing that I did was I didn't push Logan into this business. When I very first, it took me, 6 days to make the choice that I was going to go all in this business. And we had a big heart to heart about it, because we didn't want things to repeat, right? We didn't want how things were with my previous company. But what his understanding was, okay, like what is the comp plan? Like, how is this business different from the other one? So I broke it down for him, and I learned that not to sell it to him. And that's what I was so used to doing. Like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect thing. Like, this is great. Like, I was trying to sell him into this.
Yeah, she was trying to sell that hustle.
Versus telling him what this business could mean, right? Mm-hmm. And so we set goals. That's what we did. We set a goal, and we pretty much gave each other a year. Mm-hmm. And I gave him goals with his career, And every day we worked at it together. And every Tuesday, this is what I did. Every Tuesday, he was always there. I would open up my paychecks. Every Tuesday, before I even say anything, he's like, hey, it's payday. Like, how was payday? And whatever the number was, he was super excited about it. Because you guys have to understand, when I started this business, all I wanted was to pay for my daughter's dance and to pay for the gas to get there and back. That's where I started. And I worked at it. And every week I got consistent. I got better and better. I fell down so many times, but that's life. That's how you grow. But I had to take the pushing, like, you need to accept this, out of the equation. What do you want? Have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I would say like you guys are trying to sell a new idea to even whatever woman that you're trying to sell this to. My biggest thing is like, don't try to sell me that hustle. Just tell me the ins and outs that you were made aware of at that time. And I can tell you right now, even in my own community that I'm in right now, most men really just want to hear, okay, what's the baseline? What's this going to cost to get this up and running? And so you have that, your husband working that 9 to 5, or probably working extended hours. And it's like, okay, well, how can this be a benefit to the family? You know, we have holidays coming up. So I was always kind of come like, it's an extra, I don't care if it's an extra $40 or $100 a week at the same time, because that stuff, those little increments made that much big of a difference on all of those little micro purchases that all of our cost of living makes for us. So, and then I kind of gave her my standard, right? Because let's be honest, there's other companies in our past that sold you their hustle. You guys are having to do the daily grind on this stuff and then reset from zero the following week. So that to me just wasn't a just way to get business done. You're putting almost all that pressure on there. And by the end of the year, you guys are spending $6,000-$7,000 a year, and you've only made like $1,200 a year. So who's really winning out on that, right? So are you really winning out on your relationships and your experiences, or is the man getting his doing proper? So that to me is what kind of separated Lavelle from where I sat as far as criticism goes. And I gave her goals. I'm like, all right, well, if you really want to expand on this, show me that you care, and show me that this stuff is actually something that you're going to be able to develop and grow in.
Well, I feel like the biggest thing was taking it serious enough. Like, was this just going to be a hobby, or was I really going to make this work? And of course, every week's different, right? We have our ups and downs and whatever comes our way, but we know when we hit those ruts, we know that's when growth is happening. That's when we really need to dig deep. That's when we really need to keep striving forward, because once you like get those steps ahead, you're starting to see the light why you're in that lesson. It's kind of funny he touched on that about, I was actually going to get into that here in a little bit, but he touched on about the money part, right? And the one thing that I learned, and he even pointed out to me, he's like, hun, like, men just need it like really simple and stupid. Like, we don't need it fluffy. We don't need it sugar coated. Like, just give it to us straight, because our minds don't comprehend this, what you realize what it means. So that was a big eye opener for me, because for a long time, like, I was like, oh, like, if I just sell him on this, like, it's going to work. No, break it down, keep it simple, and be honest, like, work together, build that relationship. And that's like the other thing, like talking and visiting with others, that I realized, like, you want the support, but here's the thing, are you giving that support in return? And what I mean by that is, are you giving that support to your spouse or your boyfriend or whoever is that person that is with you, a parent or whatever, that support at the same time that you are wanting in return? And, there are going to be people who don't get it, who don't understand it. And that is when you take this and you teach them and share the excitement, share the wins that your team is having. That's what I did all the time. I tell him practically everything. Sometimes he's like, I have no idea what that means, but it sounds absolutely amazing. but I'm keeping him involved. And that I feel like has made a big difference, not only like with our relationship, but this relationship that I have in building this business. But where was the other one? So he touched on the money part, which we all know, right? It's always a big thing that we kind of hear a little bit about, because they want how much is going to be coming in, how much money is going to be going out. And the beauty thing about this business, when I told him that I could earn products for free here, there were no monthly fees or anything, he was like, that's amazing. Like, he couldn't believe it, because in reality, like, I'll be honest, in a year with my old company, I spent over $2,000 to stay active. Like, that was huge, massive. And so telling him, like, there is so many incentives going on that there's always an opportunity to boost your paychecks. Always. Like, you have the control over that. And that was massive, like completely massive. So that really changed a lot. But the other part, the second part, is attention. Like, how much attention are you going to give to this business? Are you going to be completely poured into it and you're completely forgetting about family life, home life, whatever? And that is the biggest thing when like in the team chats that I shared, like the biggest thing that I've done is setting timers, and whatever I get done, that's what I get done. But, every week's different. We're always shifting and kind of changing things. So always be willing to be flexible. Like, whatever you can get done in a day, be proud of it, because it could have been like, well, I don't have time for it, I'm not going to do it. So you didn't get anything done, but you made 2 connections or 3 connections. Like, be proud of that. Like, it takes steps by steps. Like, we hear the saying all the time, you can't take one step to a staircase, right? Like, it takes building. And sometimes that looks like very tiny, and that's okay. That's where we build that foundation. That's where we can get stronger. The other thing is, let's see. Okay, well, I kind of touched on that with the okay, I'm gonna ask him some questions. Also, I was dying laughing. I just read the chat. I did not realize our shirts at all. I don't know, but sometimes we don't realize that we kind of wear the same thing sometimes. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna go last year. So I joined October 7th, and that whole entire month was the VIPs and hitting 4K. Do you remember back then? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what did you see? Sorry for this slide. Did you see a shift that I made coming into this business than what I was doing before?
Yeah, you had more of a personal connection with the people on your team. And, and I'm just going to say, it's like I said, when they're trying to sell that hustle on things, it's like, oh, well, you really can't get a hold of your leader of your team. And on the team you had constant communication. So I could tell there was far more of enjoyment out of it. And when it comes to like everything else kind of started falling into place, right? Because everybody had these ideas that were contributing to the team. And when I really didn't need much selling on it, all as I knew was what was current was not working. Mm-hmm. And that's where I can say, like, if you guys are ever trying to get a new promoter or anything, and that's, are they currently happy in their position that they're in now? Because everybody's always skeptical right out of the gate. They're more willing to stick to their lifestyle and be miserable about it rather than trying something new. It's always really different to get outside of that comfort zone. Like, so when my wife brought this to me, I really did not even really consider how much it was until we got to the end of the first month. She was making all of her meetings. She was really supportive. I could tell she was just generally happier. Like, her patches were everything about her products was just making her life better. And that to me, that's what matters the most, is happy wife, happy life. Right. So I ended up really starting to see the progress on it. And it's always the subtle differences that start building. The small things ended up building up into large things. So I usually take it as just like, okay, was it a good week? Was it a bad week? Did you hit your targets? And if so, can I help you, give you some advice? Because realistically, guys, you guys are doing this on your own. And I just want to be there as a support marker, right? I want her to put her stamp on this and want her to be successful about it. So I spend all my time chasing criminals, and I come home and I'm like, hey, how was the belt? What drama did you guys bring to the table today that I'm like, all right, was Laurel talking shit? Like, was it ready to go? Like, you guys have fun? But for the most part, it's like, okay, what did you do today that you couldn't have done yesterday? And just building on that support system.
So what would you say, what helped you make that shift when you started seeing that?
It sounds cheesy, but like, all right, so cops are sedentary. All right, we spend like all day. It's like 5% adrenaline, 95% paperwork, and like, what the fuck? Sorry guys. Like, so everything that I did, I started really liking because of balance. Like, balance really helped me out. Like, it's so easy to get caught in that vein of like bad habits when you're out on the road and everything. And it was like, all right, well, I can kind of see why she's getting so passionate about it, because it really took a lot of my problems that I was having throughout the evenings and making me feel more comfortable about it. And then I would honestly say, like, the sense of community though too. So everything that I had that I was skeptical about, this is a completely 180 from what I was used to from all those other programs. So it's just a different feeling. It's more of a community, and I feel like if you guys are together and have more of a community, then you have a chance of being more successful rather than being on your own. So, and that's why I'm so supportive of it. And so, because most of the time, it's really just hard to get that spouse to want to take that initial jump on board, because it is a risk. So, and if you're taking the risk, you might as well, but sell it to, I wouldn't say she just sold me. I would say explain it to me in a way that I understand, where I'm not going to be skeptical right out of the gate.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like I had to take the fluffiness out and just be completely honest. And basically, I just told him, like, I want a income that can make such a massive impact in our life. Like, I don't know what the road is going to take. I don't know what's ahead, but I know that this could be our answer. And for me, one that is working this business, I had to realize that I had to get my communication better. I had to develop more of an understanding of where he's coming from, because he's not working in this business. Like, this is a whole different type of business platform. And really taking him along with me and not overwhelming him, but our victories that our team has, like, whatever that we have planning going on, whatnot, like, I'm always telling him. And in the beginning, he's like, oh yeah, that's great, like, cool. But now he's like, after a year of being consistent, I feel like it's been like completely life-changing, because this business has opened so many doors for us that we never saw ever happening. And it was because, telling him, hey, I have a meeting at this time, but, the kids have this going on. Can you do this while I'm taking care of this? Like, we learned to really juggle a lot of things together when I had a one-on-one meeting, or, kids called from school, like, whatnot. Like, I feel like it really I feel like our relationship has gotten way stronger, is because this business showed me that I had to do a better job about communicating that made things sense to him, versus me like, well, I told you this. And he's like, well, not really. Like, you didn't really say that. And I look back like, oh yeah, like, I was sugarcoating it again, like trying to make it all nice and fluffy, which I've learned over a year that doesn't work. Like, completely getting to the point, what's going on, and really telling him why, like, I want this to work. Like, there is no, like, me, like, pulling out of this, like, this is going to work, but I don't know what it's going to take, like, what it's going to do. And I always go to him like, okay, hey, I have this going on. Like, what do you think about this? Like, what is your thoughts about this? And really involving him, because for one, that gets him to understand more about the business, two, about this incredible community, this team, and three, it really opened our whole eyes to the balance of life from his job. If you guys don't know, he is a law enforcement officer. So summer times, I would say your busy season now starts in March and it ends this month.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's craziness. So he's gone, like we're juggling things, and that really opened our eyes. Like we had to get better at it. And so that's what we did. Of course, like every day is not like going to be easy because you're figuring it out along the way and not being so hard on yourself at the same time. Now pertaining to like not having a spouse or boyfriend or whatever, I do have to say, like family members, you know, my family, I love my family, love them, but they don't understand this business at all. They don't understand this business at all. And
mother-in-laws are hard to sell.
And when you're okay, so I travel, I visit my family and everything, and I'm still working my business. My business is still my number one, and I'm not going to leave it on the back burner. Of course, I'm going to enjoy my time with my family, but I'm not going to be checked out for like 7 days. Like this whole community, this team is very important to me, and I'm never going to do that. And I really talked to my family about it and telling them, like, you know, and they didn't realize how this business works, because I realized I didn't do a good job about telling them how this business works. Like the opportunities here, to the possibilities of, like, you know, from the auto bonus to lifestyle getaways to bonuses, like whatever it is. They, you know, while we're traveling, you know, for an example, I'll share an example because this is still stuck into my head. I'm going to tell you what I said. So I went with my mom and my sister, and we took my kids and my nieces and nephews to go miniature golfing. And, you know, I got my work done that morning. And so I'm like, okay, like we're pretty good. Of course, like teen chats, whatnot is going on. And I was talking to two gals that day, well, that evening, and they were getting really wanting to order. So I had my notifications on for them because I wanted to be able to answer them if they messaged me back. So we were out golfing, and we were having a great old time. And, you know, when it wasn't my turn, like I got a notification, hurry, sent a message, put my phone back, and, you know, still involved. Like it doesn't take very long to, like, you know, reply back to a message, right? So, you know, we're getting towards the end, and one of the gals wanted to order. So I'm getting her all set up, and, you know, you kind of like multitask pretty well. And my sister made a comment like, are you always going to be on your phone? And so I replied and I said, you know, I understand that this doesn't make sense to you, and that's okay. But this business means a lot to me, and I'm going to make this business work. And if it takes 2 minutes out of my time that I'm having a great time with my family, like how amazing is that I can take this wherever I go and still be able to help my team and help other people thrive, and being able to have that weekly paycheck. And she didn't say anything, because versus me snapping back, I just simply said, this is important to me. And I can't tell you that takes a lot for me with my family. And I was very proud of that moment. So I called him and told him about it, and he was excited for me. But, you know, the biggest thing that really helped me was staying close. Like, you know, the saying, like, stay close to the fire, like being in the team chats, getting to know people, and really getting that sense of like what we have here and what is on the table all the time for us. Like anything can change. Every week can change. So if you're having difficult time, like with your family, like I realize when you snap at someone, everybody shuts down and nobody wants to talk. So confronting your family, like why is this important to you? Like, share your dreams with them, like share success that other people have had on the team. Like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Like, I know I can do this. And when you start talking that way, it's kind of crazy because your family will start, like, it'll start pouring into them without even realizing that they are. And it just takes yourself into a different direction than what your family is thinking. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think most of our families are used to that traditional brick and mortar lifestyle, that 9 to 5, and they just haven't quite gotten it, that everything's in that digital ether right now. So, and it's just a hard concept to sell. And granted, I didn't really get it, because it's just like, I like to go out and work with my hands and everything, and so it's not a really common concept, even though it's everywhere. So I will say this: your family's supportive of everything that you do until you start going on to anything online. It's because it's foreign to them, and it's probably going to be uncomfortable for them for a while. And my biggest thing is you can go. I remember having a conversation with my brother-in-law about it, and I'm like, you can go spend $85,000 on a bachelor degree for a degree field that only pays out 60 grand a year. And it's like, okay, but is your partner actually doing something that is making them happy? And are they seeing results with it? Are you riding the tide with that? And I think a lot of it just comes down to that emotional support. Because like I said, all the laurels that I lay at with my wife and her teammates, like, I don't try to claim anything of that. And it's even gotten to the point now where my colleagues that I work with have gotten to sample things, and they're like, holy shit, like, I don't feel like I'm bloated anymore. And it's like, what is this? And I'm like, dude, just talk to my wife about it. I'm like, she's kind of the Einstein about it. And it's like, but those little subtle changes that people start taking little bites, and those pieces start getting bigger and bigger. And so it takes time, and it's just gonna be hard to kind of sell this kind of an animal to begin with, but if you stay consistent at it, it's going to help. And all you need is just that little bit of support system. And that's why you guys have a team. And I think that's why I'm so supportive of this to begin with, is because there's so many people within that team structure to help out, because I'm sure Laurel or Courtney or Amber or anybody else has had a specific question they've already experienced. Somebody else has already had that experience, and trying to make that process that much easier for the next person that joins that team. So, and it makes everything more effective. But as far as parents, though, it's hard to sell. It's hard to sell that brick and mortar. That's something that's not brick and mortar. And once they kind of get a hold of that process, it makes things more amicable. So, and even to this day, it's like my father still doesn't understand. And he goes, well, I seen her talking about this and that. And it's just like, I'm like, I don't think you get it, man. It's like, you grew up with still using dial-up.
Can I tell him the story about your dad?
Yeah, go ahead.
So so you know how sometimes we take a picture of like our like you got paid, from the email. You know how like we can overlay it on our pictures and stuff. Okay. So we were sitting, I shared about it on my stories, and all of a sudden he gets a phone call, and it's his dad, and his dad is like freaking out. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, Bobby's showing all of her paychecks and everything online. And he's like freaking out, and I'm dying. And I'm like, I did not share anything of that. I'm like, I can't even share it anyways. And so he's trying to explain to his dad, like, how everything goes. And like, he is very, very stuck in his ways, like hardcore.
If he forgets his iPad password, he'll think he got hacked, and he'll go buy a new one.
Yes.
So it's just the nature of the beast.
So it's been like, he'll follow me like how I do stuff, but he still goes to Logan, still not understanding, like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, he wants to prove that I am in the wrong. And Logan is always showing like, no, Dad, like, times are changing. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not a bad thing to have an extra source of income. Like, there's nothing wrong with making extra $50 a month. Like, if it comes to that, or $20 or $30, like, but then at the same time, like, he tells him, like, this has completely changed everything for her. Like, she has a community that really has shown her a lot in her life, that she's going after things in her life that she thought she wasn't capable of, because for so long, and it's really hard for me to like share things like anything with my chronic illness, like with my family, because everybody, I get this pity party and I don't want that pity party. So then I resort to, I don't talk about it. And it's just been really nice building that strength. Like this business is so much more, of course, than, as we know, as a paycheck, but we know like those like small little paychecks like can add up and take care of things that we probably wouldn't even like think that we would need it, but having that little extra makes a big difference. You know, like I said, when I started, I just wanted to pay for my daughter's dance class was $35. Okay. $35 a month, and paying for gas for there and back. And it was 100-mile round trip once a week. That's all I wanted. And I set goals. The biggest thing that I can really encourage you is to set a goal, that is not comfortable, but a goal that is going to push you out of your element, and involve your spouse, involve your family with it, and bring them along. Even though you might hear them say something like in the back of your head, you know where you're going. And when you get to that point, I promise you, your family's going to look at you like my family looked at me, like I had no idea. Like I had no clue. Even though I was taking them along the way, it still didn't make sense to them. Yeah. So keep doing that. I know sometimes it can get very discouraging. I know it can get really down when you don't have that support. You have an amazing support system right here. And that's where I dug in. And it has completely changed everything within my confidence, with my communication skills with Logan. And it has been just a major trifecta. And like the biggest thing, like being a spouse, or if like, you know, if you're like with your parents or grandparents or whoever, like the biggest thing that you can do, like supporting them, like encouraging them and whatnot, is like to try the products and to refer people to your wife or daughter, whoever, okay, on the team, okay? That is the biggest thing. I know when he started, he was like, I don't know how to talk about this. Like, what are you you're going to have me what? I'm like, just take it with you, okay? And be like, throw it at him. Because here's the thing. The one thing that I learned in the military is that guys are huge into supplements, way more than women. And so I told him, I'm like, okay, you're going to be taking some samples, like throw them at your buddies, whoever, and just tell. And I have all the information in there, like everything. And that was that. And it doesn't mean a sale always happens. No, because everyone can be very skeptical, but I bet you they're always asking him questions all the time. And he's like, well, why don't you just contact my wife and she'll help you out? And so it's little things that you can do, but I feel the biggest thing is that communication, huge, to really get down to why you're doing this and not being afraid to say it at all, and really owning up to it, because this business can open so many doors that you don't feel like it can. Where I'm at right now, I never thought in a million years that I would be where I'm at today, ever. I'm 31 and I never saw anything like this, especially how my 20s went. No way. And only a year here, like if you do the work every single day, if you stay consistent at it, it will develop that trifecta. It will. But you might not see it in a week. You might not see it in 2 weeks. You might not see it in 3 weeks, but I bet you in 4 months, you'll see it, or in 8 months, you'll see it. Like everything builds. But the biggest thing is to, what was that? Don't push. Don't push. Just show up and be confident in what you have, even though you might not understand everything. I'm still learning things after a year about this business, like still. Like, and even with ladies who have been here 5 years, like they're still learning things, how things are. Like you do not have to know everything to be amazing in this business. You don't. If you guys have specific questions for Logan, drop them in the chat. He will answer them.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's do this.
he definitely wants to answer some questions. He's been very excited about
Yeah.
this. But you want to add anything?
No, just my biggest thing is just be open and honest about it. If you're truly excited about what you're trying to sell, then do it for the right reasons. And I will say this, your family will honestly be the biggest pushback you'll ever have when you're trying to move forward. That's why I think it's awesome that you guys have these weekly team meetings together, because you guys are all sharing the same idea. Everybody's trying to push forward on that. And like I said, I was very skeptical when I first came, when she told me this is what she wanted to do. But if you're showing that you're interested and you're putting your best foot forward and you're taking the time out of your day to push forward on it, and regardless if they're saying, I don't know why, oh, you're still at this meeting or whatever, it's like, well, no, you agreed to it. So if you're going to be that supporting spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, you probably should say, hey, let's ride this tide out together and let's see how it goes. And for a year, I will say it has gone leaps and bounds. So, and my friends, like their wives have tried to, they're like, oh, I'm really thinking about doing this. And, cops talk in their little knitting circles. We're all about like, oh, well, my wife wants to do this. And I just try to sell them on that idea that like, hey, well, is it really about community or is it about the bottom line at the end of the day? And given our current nation and our economy, like that stuff builds up after time. We're kind of in a situation right now where we're coming to the holidays. It costs $5 for a pack of bologna, and that was my poor kid's meat growing up. Like as a day, bologna and cheese and a little bit of mustard. So a lot of that stuff is just like give it, just being that emotional support structure for her. And even if it wasn't really a good week, I say, just figuring out how you can rebuild on it, because the stuff will come in waves and your successes will build on each other. So any questions that I can answer, let's do this.
I don't know if anybody does. Don't be shy.
Yeah. See one hubby sitting there in the corner.
That is it.
What's up, bro? so
I don't know, what was the question I was going to ask you?
I have a few, Bobby.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
Go ahead. That's okay. I can wait.
No, you're good, because I can't think of it. Okay. Mine. It'll come to.
You guys are great. Like such a power couple, and I'm really excited to meet you, Logan, in person. In what, like 16 days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The unification that you two have brought to this meeting and showed to the whole team, like just what it looks like for if your husband believes in you wholeheartedly, like you're not trying to sell him on stuff. You're not trying to like push him, just like you guys are saying, like you're not selling him on the idea, like you're letting the products and the company and the community talk for itself. And you guys are the whole image of it, the whole package. So, and I love that you're matching shirts. So it's even better. Just that did resonate with me. Was that you're proud of the day-to-day tasks. It's not, it's not just looking at like your big wins of like what you guys have like recently accomplished, which is huge. It's amazing. But it's those day-to-day tasks that got you to where you're at now for both of you. Wow, it just really just sunk in. My question for Logan, what is your favorite part about this business? Favorite part since Bobby joined to now, favorite part?
Favorite part is the constant communication with her teammates. So I think that's a big seller across the board, right? Because everybody has their own ideas and they want to share those ideas, right? Because if you're sharing those ideas, that collective, your team gets to grow. You guys might be in a different community where our idea might sell to yours better than what you're dealing with in your current situation. So the communication standard is very above par compared to what I've seen in the past with her previous organization. So that's a big seller to me. And that's definitely what puts a smile on my face. It's like, okay, how'd your collab go? And I usually ask her, you thriving today, or is today just kind of like, am I there? So, and I can usually tell, and it's usually a smiley face, and it's like, okay, well, I made some ground today. I'm like, did you get all your goals accomplished? Yeah. It's like, all right, well, how did you accomplish your goals? Like, well, it was a very productive meeting today. Like I figured out a new tactic to talk to people about that. So a lot of it is just trying to push her in the right direction to where make her as successful as possible, but I don't ever want to be in that light with her. I want her to own it and take advantage of those risks and successes. So, and then be there to help navigate it when something's really kind of hitting a valley, you know? So
you guys are a power couple, seriously. Bobie, I guess this goes for both of you, but just because I want the team to hear this part of it, so I hope that you're okay with sharing it and just taking the team through what you went through when you were like hours, minutes, seconds away from locking in 12K. You were driving and on your way home to your parents. Can you take us through that event? Like I think we were on the phone till like 10 p.m. that night until time clocked out until we got it done.
Yeah, it was 8 minutes so I actually was driving to Idaho, which is about a 4-hour drive from where I live, and it's very back road, so it's not like freeway. Anyways, it was so funny because I had everything kind of panned out, and I had about, I think it was 900 QV that I had to fill within.
it was a short amount of time.
I want to say it was maybe 5 hours, maybe. And mind you, like, I was very pushing very hard, and I didn't. This is why I look at my back office every single day, so I know like what's going on, because during that time I didn't look at my back office for, I think it was like 3 days. And so I had no idea. I'm like, it's end of the month, like it is what it is, like whatever, like I'm traveling today. And I'm talking back and forth with Laurel, and she's like, dude, like you have 900 QV to fill to hit your 12K. And I'm like what? Like I was not looking back in my back office, even though I was still in tune with the team. But I get there, mind you, I still have like 2 hours left of my drive. Then I have about 3.5 hours left, I want to say. So I get there to my sister's, mind you, and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, hey, here's my kids. They'll be fine. They can take care of themselves. But I'm like, I have to send out messages. I have to do my follow-ups right now because I have a massive goal that I can hit right now, and I'm going to make it. So I messaged every person that I was talking to. And this is why connecting and following up is so important, because you never know what can happen. Okay. So my brother, I have been trying to get my brother to try Thrive since I started in October. So October to June. Okay. I messaged him, and I was blunt. I was straight to the point. And I was like, okay, I have a massive goal, because he's my brother. So I'm like, hey, I have a massive goal, and I've supported my brother a lot in a lot of stuff. I'm like, it's your time to start to support me in this. And I bailed him out a lot of times. So he's very stingy with money, but he makes good money. So he was like, fine, hook me up, like whatever you want. Like, I'll try it. I'll finally try it. So I started getting messages back, and I realized how I was coming across to people, that I was very confident in what I had, and that they did not want to miss out on this. So all of a sudden I started getting orders, and my mom happened to be, she didn't order that month. And I'm like, Mom, like she was my last person. Like my thumbs hurt for 3.5 hours. I was messaging people. My thumbs hurt for a good 3 days after. And I wasn't going to give up. And so I sat my mom down, and she got home late at work because she worked swings. And so I had less than like 20 minutes to talk to her and be like, Mom, like, this is what I have on the table right now, and I cannot miss this whatsoever. And I'm like, I saw that you didn't get your order in this month. Like, can we get like your order in? And like, I was very blunt with her, and she was like, really hesitant, because she's like, well, can I do it tomorrow? I'm like, no, we can't do it tomorrow. Like, it has to be tonight. So she laughed at me, and I'm like shaking because I had 10 minutes on the clock, and I'm like freaking out. And so I'm like trying to get everything in. And I remember double checking that order, I think 10 times, to make sure that we were good to go. And so I submitted it and refreshed my screen, and I literally just like started crying. And I remember messaging Laurel and sending the screenshot, because I couldn't send anything after that. And that was the time that my mom realized, because I don't live in the same town as her, but that was a moment that she realized that this business was a big deal, a massive deal. And I remember telling him, and I don't know, like, I was super proud. I was so excited. And it was a big moment for us together, that, through everything of learning, because that few months ago in February, I had a hard time. I had a big rut, and I realized that I wasn't taking care of me. And when I say, when you're taking care of yourself now, that trifecta is going to happen in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. So whatever you're doing now is going to happen in the future. You don't know when it's going to happen. Well, June, that was my time. That is when everything started to shift. And 8 minutes left on the clock, I had Laurel like hyperventilating because it was so close. And she's like, okay, can we not do that again, please? But it was such an adrenaline that it was something I will never forget. Never forget.
We have a couple questions.
Hold on.
I can't even tell who that is.
Do you have anything else, Laurel? Or is this in the question box? Is that what
dropped in the question box? But it was just cool that you hit the 12K, and it, like, you proved to yourself, your family, and Logan, like, that you do it. Like, anything is possible because you did it.
Anything. Yes.
Big question says, how do you help bring it up to guys?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question.
So we all may have this hard shell and internalize all of our anger and frustration, but at the same time, we all talk. Like I said, we all have our knitting circle. So at the same time, if I don't like to encompass everything when I talk about her side of the business, I talk about what's worked for me. Like, even in the military, everything came from bodybuilding.com. Everything had a really pretty label and like green foil in it, so it looked super expensive and awesome, but it didn't do
anything.
Yeah, it was just something like non-proprietary blend. So like everything that I've done right now with my colleagues is I picked something that we all could benefit from, which was balance. It's so easy for me to get into this strain when I'm on the road, that our food choices or options are just not what they are at home. So, and everybody's tired of eating pizza and everybody's drinking beer all the time. So like a lot of it is I said, here, try this, and I gave him 5 pills of balance out of my jar, and I was like, tell me how this makes you feel. And they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it's gotten to the point now where they're just like, hey, where do we get more? And I'm like, well, just message my wife, like, here's her number and she'll hook you up. And so it doesn't have to be anything like out of the ordinary. It's just having that like little conversation of like, hey, you really feel bloated from having Pizza Hut for the 6th night in a row. It's like, what do I do to make my stomach feel better? It's like, I take balance. And it's starting to show that it doesn't have to be anything out of the ordinary. Like, the biggest thing anymore is like, everybody feels like they're trying to be sold something, rather than just tell them like, hey, this is how it makes me feel. Take it or leave it. And you're leaving that ball in their court on it. So that's what I've been doing with my colleagues. And we're starting to see that shift right now, where everybody's wanting to transition to that. Because why, especially when you guys are out earning your VIPs and your bonuses and everything, you're also getting credits for what you're doing for consumer products, right? So like, a lot of that stuff you can sell them on that idea. And I will say this, samples do go a long way when it comes to that. And so, at least in my field, people have really liked it. So
Mhm.
just don't try to sell them. And then where do we see ourselves in a year or 5 to 10? That's kind of, I mean, I treat this week by week. Every day we have that conversation. How are you doing with LaBelle? Are you talking to people? Are you getting those
Mhm.
meaningful conversations like throughout the day? Or how many people tried to ghost you today and say, oh, well, I get paid on a Friday. We've all been there.
Mhm.
And it's just like, so just keeping that dialogue open should they choose to come contact you in the future, because I think that's where a lot of people I've seen in the past with past organizations is that they'll shut down and they'll instantly move on. And my thing is, it's like, okay, well, we're not where we were 5 years ago in America. Like, so there's a different way, there's a different tact of how to try to approach people. And I think just, to me, if I was a guy and you guys were trying to sell me on something, I'd like, just be open and honest with me and tell me, how did it make you feel? Like,
Mhm.
market your own product to how it makes you feel, which most people don't even do anymore. They just get something across their desk and it's what they just say, oh, this is what it is and this is what science says. I'm like, well, I don't care what science says, because science can be bought. How did it make you feel when you took this product? And that goes leaps and bounds with me. So it's the subtle differences in our day to day. And in 5 to 10 years, I would hope to still see my wife with Thrive or
Well, it's not gonna.
Lavelle.
Well,
So
here's
so
like a point, like we were actually talking 5 years ago. Logan was a frontliner for the Forest Service, so he wasn't a law enforcement officer, and I had my nail business, and we were barely making it, like barely. And we had a new house, we had a baby, we had a 3-year-old, and we were trying to figure out how in the heck is this going to work? Like, how? And that was our moment that we realized that we had to make a shift that our family just didn't understand. Like, we've moved every 3 years. This is the longest where we've ever lived since we've been together. And we had to shift into a direction that a lot of people where we lived and my family, they weren't willing to take a job that was going to take them somewhere else, that they weren't willing to do something that was going to.
People are willing to suffer just for the sake of suffering rather than, hey, what can we do to fix it?
So when he made that shift, I brought us to a small town, but I was with my previous company, but deep down, like, I knew, like, I still wanted more in life because he was doing something more for our family. And even though I was still dealing with my chronic illness and having like really bad relapses and stuff, like, I still didn't give up on the idea that there was something that was made for me. I just didn't know what it was. But I definitely see, like, in up to, well, I'm going to say less than 5 years. That's a grace period, but definitely being a 200K team, like going hardcore, like this is, I know that my team will be a 200K team. Like, I know that's going to happen. I just don't know when, but I'm not going to give up on it. So that's a big thing for me. Definitely, we're in the process of finally buying a home, and, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for this business at all. It wouldn't. And it made the biggest difference when we went to our loan officer. And that
was the quickest pre-approval letter I've ever seen
the biggest
from any mortgage company. They were like, oh my God.
And
yeah.
I never,
so
and also, I never thought it would do anything like that.
Yeah. And it's all about, like I said, it's like you guys just create a plan together that you guys can stick to, that's reasonable for both of you.
Set goals.
And then set those goals and figure out how to meet them. Even if you fall short a little bit, you're still creating every step forward. Like, if you missed a couple steps within that week, find a way to balance it out to make that next leap the following week. So, and it's all about steps. Like, I don't ever treat this on a monthly basis. I treat this on a weekly basis, because you guys are tasked with following trends of people. What is the market looking like for people? And you guys have a difficult job of trying to tap into that market. But if you're more realistic with people, I find it's a lot easier to swallow as far as being a spouse. Like, so rather than selling that dream. I sell me reality. Where are you go? Where do we see us in a year? And like I said, it's like I give the credit to her on that. Like I said, she's stuck with it, and it's just that being that support system where and wherever she needs it. So, but
definitely, like to your last question, I know we're kind of coming up on time. But balance 100%. You really have to find that balance. Like we have 2 kids, like his job is super crazy. And being like willing to shift things in your day to day on how you work this business. Don't be afraid to make it messy. Don't be afraid to try something new and see how it goes. But definitely balance, like set work hours. After that's done, like you've done your work for the day. Like that message will be there the following day. Like, of course, towards the end of the month, you know, things are super exciting. Like he knows that end of the month, crazy things happen. But having that balance is super important. For one, it pretty much takes away the burnout, and 2, it creates that fun. Like this is fun. Like you have to create that environment. And I feel like our team does an amazing job in the community part, but that's why I set timers. That has been the biggest thing for me, is doing that. And when that timer goes off, my work's done for the day, and I go on to mom life, and now soon to be going to be working at the sheriff's department. So don't be afraid to try something that you've never tried before, but definitely create that balance. Huge. It will make a big difference in the way that you show up every single day. So yeah, but thank you guys for hopping on. I know this one was a pretty long one, but I really appreciate it.
Bobby,
And
I have a quick question.
Okay, what's your question?
So kind of just piggybacking off of that, because it's not like a traditional 9 to 5, and, you know, even with, you know, because my husband has a 9 to 5 and I'm home with 4 babies during the day. So even like setting work hours, quote unquote, that kind of stuff. You know, you mentioned your story about like being at mini golf and having those messages coming in and, you know, answering them and that kind of stuff. So Logan, before you like bought into it, because I know you've been supportive, but before you bought into Lavelle and this opportunity, was there ever like an adjustment period where, you know, you'd see your Bobby on the phone while she's cooking dinner or something like that and have an issue or feel like it's taken away from the family and that kind of stuff? Like, was there ever a time period where you had to navigate that, or any tips on like that period?
Yeah, so there'd be nights where she would have a meeting with the team, and then guess what? It's dad dinner night. It's pizza. It's, you know, it's things that I'm never allowed to get away with while she's busy.
Yeah.
Like if she was to be in my presence. So there's things that we've been able just to rotate. Like, so if you guys have a big meeting coming up and it's the end of the month or whatever, this is stuff that we've pre-planned about a week in advance. So everything that if she has a meeting and I know like it's something that she just cannot miss, doesn't want to miss, there's all of her colleagues are on the same chat, then I just kind of take those reins as far as playing Mr. Mom on things. But then at the same time, there's been times where it took an adjustment period. I'd say the first month is always probably the most interesting when it comes to things, because it's something new, right? You're trying to test it out. Your toes are kind of dipped in.
Well, and I feel like, especially like, because we went through the holidays, and that was like really our time, our first 3 months. You know, it was an adjustment because like I might have had to go help a customer get started out of somewhere, and he's like, okay, like what is going on? Like, I thought you said you were doing this, and now I'm having to do this. Like, okay. And I realized that really took a big adjustment because he's like very planned, like a regimen. Well, our regimen is completely different now because of this business. So it definitely took him a long time, but I feel like that was the communication part. Like, hey, compromising this week, I have this meeting going on. I want to make this one. So how can we like adjust, like you taking over things so I can be present in this? Because sometimes I wasn't able to like always make to all of them, but I made sure that there was at least a couple of them that I made priority, and we put our schedule around it. Like Logan was saying, we go week by week, and that was a big thing in helping with that. So
Yeah, just take it in stride, because nothing's ever going to go according to plan in the first month of this, like at all. I mean, unless unless all of your stars align at once, there's going to be a period of adjustment, and your significant other or family needs to understand that. Like anything new, it's going to take a minute to really get a feel for it. So, but as far as like family life, and it's like, I've been married for 11 years. So now it's just like, all right, well, she may have something and I need to go handle it. So like there's days that I'm really praying to God criminals just do not show up on the CAD. Like it's like, all right, well, she's got her meeting at 6 o'clock. So most of the time I'll try to supplement where and when I can. And then if there's ever a possibility where it doesn't work, there's, like I said, this stuff's ends up being recorded. I'm like, I'm sorry if you missed this. Like, let me get home as soon as I can, and then we can kind of adapt and overcome together. But it really streamlines itself after a while.
You get in the rhythm.
So no, my biggest problem is just people just don't understand that it's not brick and mortar. Like it's just not a brick and mortar thing that society is used to. So it's just a different scope of looking at things, and a lot of it is just like, how do you explain it to a person who's been brick and mortar their whole life? Like, so it's, they don't have to understand. They should just be like, okay, well, they're obviously doing well with it. So what am I missing here? And that, I mean, my dad's worked for the Bureau of Prisons for 33 years, and that is like beating a dead horse, like trying to get him to understand that. And it's like, I'm like, you know what, by now, just, we'll see at Christmas. We'll figure it out. So it's, just be supportive and be around.
It's good. Darn fly. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. And yeah,
I guess
catch you guys next time.
see you soon.
We'll see you guys soon.
So.
Okay. Bye, guys.